Just stay in your room now. It's too late. Welcome, 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 welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. I am Dr. Lisa Gardenhire, founder of This is Deeper and creator of the Touch IQ framework. And today we're here to have 3 amazing days of a mini immersive about the Touch IQ framework. Good morning. Good afternoon. Hi, Selena. So I want to welcome you to the Touch IQ tribe and this 3-day mini immersive. I am, because I'm recording this for the first time, I want to make sure. Well, I think it's going to record. Sorry. Recording the speaker. We'll see. Anyway, hey, Selena. Welcome to the Touch IQ tribe and to this mini immersive where we will begin exploring the intelligence of our own body for greater calm, safety, and connection. I don't want to just give you another breathing technique or calming framework. I want to give you a taste of true body-based empowerment over these 3 days. So whether you're with us live or you're watching the replay, I want to start with helping you uh, get you settled into your body. And we do that with something I call a comfort check. So a comfort check is a way to settle yourself into your body. So you're going to sit wherever you're sitting, wherever you're lying down, wherever you're listening to this, you're going to notice where and how you're sitting, how your body feels in that space, and how you can perhaps make yourself a tiny bit more comfortable. So myself, I just sat up a little bit straighter. I took my feet out of my flip-flops and have them resting on the legs of the feet of my chair, and I drop my shoulders. So whatever that is for you, you can do that to just settle yourself and make yourself a tiny bit more comfortable. Yeah, you can shake your shoulders, you can roll your neck, or whatever it is to give yourself maybe 10% more comfort right now as we get started. I'm going to set us up with a basic framework. A basic framework of Touch IQ is based on 2 things. If you're here, I know you want to have a big life. You want to have a big, juicy life that's giving you what you want, delivering on your dreams, all those things. And my personal framework, which is everything we experience of life, all of life is experienced through our physical body. I can't think of one thing that we experience in life that's outside of our physical body. I challenge you to think of something. If you got an idea, put it in the chat. But yeah, everything we experience comes through this physical mechanism that we find ourselves in. So it's so super important. And it really, for me, in the Touch IQ framework, is the foundation of how we move forward to understand how we can calm ourselves, how we can be centered in ourselves, how we can choose for ourselves, and how we can, what I promised in the original invite was develop an unshakable presence. So using our bodies as a framework to shape how we are in the world. You might be asking yourself, why touch? Well, if you know me, you know I'm a touch evangelist, and touch is my framework for how we experience life through these bodies. It's my vision, my largest vision for everything I do is to build a more connected world. To build a world where people are feeling more connected to each other, but not just in the regular old raggedy way, toxic way, but in a way that's empowered and strong and clear and bounded and safe. And I'll talk a little bit more about safety later, but most of what we're driven by as human beings is a search for safety. And so when we're safe in our bodies, then we can be bold and brave and out in the world and safe and connected to other people too. But it really kind of starts with us. So that's the framework, that's the foundation of what we're doing. We want a big life, and we're going to figure out how to use our bodies to get ourselves there. That's where we're starting. If that's okay with you, that's where we're going to go. So again, let's go back and think about this idea of why touch. Touch is the first sense you develop in the womb. Before any of your other five senses, touch is the first thing that you develop in the womb. Before you're even born, you have that sense of touch developed because we've got this big body with skin and nerves. That's one of the first thing. That's the first thing that's shaping you when you're in the womb. And that's the first thing that you develop as a way of interpreting life comes through touch. That first thing, which when I found that out, in the last few months, that just popped up as a fact. It really resonated with me to say how important touch is. And we know what the science says about the importance of touch for newborns and babies, about how they've developed themselves, how we developed ourselves as babies based on how we were touched, how we were cared for. It's that it develops a bonding. The bonding hormones come out of that, the feeling of presence and safety and security and being cared for comes from that before we're verbal, before we have conscious thoughts or are able to express ourselves. We get that through connection, through touch. And so touch is ancient, and it regulates our nervous systems. It lowers our stress hormones. It releases oxytocin. It supports our immunity, lowers our blood pressure, builds resilience, and builds our connection with each other as well. Like especially when you have safe touch or touch that you're determining for yourself is the kind that you want, it's also a way to be connected to each other. And like I said before, in my vision for the world, touch is going to be one of the keys to build this more connected world. When we're touched, especially, let me frame my definition of touch a tiny bit more for you. Touch is non-sexual and platonic, is the kind that I'm talking about here. Sexual touch is a whole nother category, which we're totally comfortable with and is important, but also can benefit from a foundation of non-sexual touch to help us build our consent protocols, to understand what we do and don't agree to, can help us build our boundaries around what is and is not okay for us in terms of touch and connection with other people, and can build our confidence. So when we have those things in place, then we can go confidently into touching other people. But for me, something I realized is, yes, touch with other people is important, but if we don't know how to touch ourselves first, if we don't have those boundaries and things in place first for ourselves and get rock solid and confident in those, then we tend to go out kind of, as my dad used to say, half-assed in the world, and we end up getting touch that we don't necessarily want, or are the things that make us touchy about touch. When you go into the world without clear boundaries, without clear consent, without those things, we can get into a place where we're entering situations that make us feel concerned because we've had a violation, we've had something occur where the touch wasn't something we consented to and things like that. And those are things as adults, we're coming into this as adults. I wish I had you guys as newborns, but we're coming into this as adults. So we're coming in with our experiences that lead us to feel sometimes touchy about touch. There are all sorts of social mechanisms that are in that as well. People coming in with religious prohibitions or social prohibitions, or again, how touch has been sort of co-opted by sexuality in our culture. Like for adults, it's sort of framed as that's kind of the only really acceptable way we can do touch. So we're trying to transform that. But today in these next 3 days, we're starting with ourselves. So this work reclaims touch as your birthright, a tool of empowerment, clarity, and emotional regulation. And I'll do this. This is how my brain works. Circle back a little bit to this idea about how we create safety. So I have a metaphor of turtles and bears. You may have heard lots of different metaphors for how we show up in the world. But as we move through the world, we're either a turtle or a bear. So a turtle is your behaviors around being bounded in your body or being entering the world or thinking about how you are safe as you interact in the world. If you're a turtle, you're a person who goes inside. You're going to build a shell. You're going to have a heavy shell. You're going to pull your legs and arms and head in that shell to keep yourself protected. You're going to make yourself smaller in the world. And you're going to go through in this sort of braced way. You're ready for anything that comes by keeping yourself as tightly closed in as you can be to keep yourself safe. Or you might be a bear and you want to make yourself as big and scary as you can in the world. I'm going to be big. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to be out in the world. I'm going to get you before you get me. I'm going to be out there, maybe, or I'm going to be in this world in a way that makes me, you not going to mess with me. I got this. I'm a big person. Nothing wrong. Actually, nothing wrong really with either of those. But the problem with them is they tend to keep other folks away from us. They're a way to keep an arm's length from connection, from, is there a hybrid? It's a good question. I think the hybrid would be what we're shooting for with Touch IQ, where we're like, how do we get a balance between needing to like hide and make ourselves smaller, needing to over exaggerate our bigness, but to just be in ourselves where we know confidently what's going to work, what works for us or what doesn't, how to articulate what works for us and what doesn't, and then how to make sure that we're enforcing those boundaries for ourselves. I think chat would be great. Chat's perfect for that. Selena, thanks. And anyone watching or watching a replay, send me a note or send me an email if you've got questions sort of as we go. You, like I said, you're an adult person. You've had experiences that have shaped or programmed who you are for better or for worse. You want to delve deeper into the hybrid or the bears and the turtles? Hybrid? Okay. What's your question? You can speak. It's fine. I'm figuring this out. Go ahead.
Well, I don't think I'm too
I
far.
can't hear you. Am I muted? Are you muted? I don't think you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Are you able to hear me?
Doing this live, folks. Maybe.
Are you able to hear me now?
Can I hear you?
Can you hear me?
I still can't. Can you put it in the chat? Sorry about that. You say you're in the middle. What does that mean?
I don't think. Can you hear me now?
Nope, can't hear you. Sorry, pal. If you type it, I'll try to respond. And I'm gonna keep talking while we do that, if that's okay. So you've got experiences that have shaped you and programmed you for better or for worse. As I said, life experiences are lessons that create a desire for safety above all else. Um, you might want to think right now, take a pause right now to think about some ways you've been limited physically or emotionally that made you not trust yourself or feel a need to hide or fight. That's something you can ask yourself right now. So when we feel this need, okay, I think that's beautiful. Like if you think you're like kind of in the middle, that's probably ideal, right? Do you feel comfortable with that? That feels like a good place? Okay, then. Well, Selena, you know you're a person who's done the work. You've done a lot of this work. You've done a lot of this work, which is good. But I think a lot of people find themselves on one or the other end of the spectrum. I think that's pretty normal that people can be kind of tight or kind of like, I'm going to defend myself before before they need to. That's what I'll say about that. So when we have these goals for safety above all else and the behaviors that may get in the way, they also may get in the way of our pursuing this bigger life that we want to have, because from my point of view, whether you're in that protective shell or you're trying to make yourself big or scary, or if you're great, like you're in a good position like Selena, sort of in the middle, um, either of those strategies can be a challenge, like I was saying, because they really are not that effective in keeping others away, but also because we live in a relational world, when we have people at arm's length, it prevents us from getting to the relationships, the connections, the authenticity in those connections and relationships that gives us access to this big life through success or having a sense of your own power or satisfaction. It really comes through those relationships we have with other folks. And so being open and being secure in that safe space that we create for ourselves that doesn't rely on a shell or a roar to get there is important, I think. So safety that comes through first in self-possession, so possession of yourself, a holding and a keeping of yourself, that for me begins in the body. And your body, primed with the highest touch IQ tools, makes it safe for you to go in the world fully yourself on your own terms. It's funny, I've got a picture of my dad here to support me during the call. And the thing he said to me more than anything as a phrase was, refuse to live your life on other people's terms and to just be really clear about yourself and who you are and being embodied in that understanding and trust of yourself as you go through life. And so that sort of is an underlying sort of theme in Touch IQ and this body-based confidence, that it's a way for you to be able to go through life on your own terms and access that juicy big life that we're getting. Touch IQ for you is the ability or the intelligence of yourself through your body, your ability to sense, regulate, and choose through your body mechanism. It matters. And I want to talk about choice a little bit more. So choice is critically important, I think, when we're talking about our bodies and how we soothe ourselves, how we treat ourselves, how we allow other people to treat us as well. I love, like I said at the beginning, I don't want to just give you guys like another breathing technique or another self-soothing mechanism, because there's a million out there. You can Google that. It's not that hard to find. There's tons of people doing that. And the good thing about them, like breath work works, like tapping works, like EFT works, like all those things work if you do them. I think for me, sometimes the challenge with some of those things is they're not necessarily authentic to what I'm feeling in that very moment. So if I have to tap this part of my hand and this part of my head and this part, I have to follow this script. Sometimes I can't remember to do it. And so some of the techniques of Touch IQ fall sort of in this realm of choice, that you are the only one in your body knowing what would feel best right now, knowing what is your best way. So if I tell you in a meditation, place your hand over your heart, but you're feeling it in your gut, and I'm telling you put it on your heart, there's conflict there. So for me, one of the frameworks of Touch IQ that I love is that this is your opportunity to fully cue into yourself and follow your own instructions. I have a story I was going to tell later, but maybe I'll just tell it now. Um, I because I've experienced like years of financial abuse in relationships, like I'm a little touchy about letters and phone calls and things like that that look like they're going to be a bill or something that I don't expect. Better than I used to be, but that's the history that I brought. So the other day I got a letter from the IRS, and I felt tension in my shoulders and my back, my scalp. I just tensed up, and it sat on my desk for a few days. I kept looking away from it. And then finally I said, you need to just open it. What is it? You don't, as far as you know, you're not in trouble with the IRS. So what is it? And, but before I did, I needed to rub my scalp. I needed to run my fingers over my scalp, down my neck, over my scalp. Now, if I had been saying, okay, put your hand over your heart, breathe, take 10 deep breaths, that wasn't what I needed right then. What I needed was, I listened to myself, I felt this tension in my scalp, and I needed to rub that to like get me down, make it come down a little bit. I opened the letter, and it was literally a letter saying, this is how much you paid this year. It wasn't even anything to like be scared of, but I just had to get past that and to get to my own sense of what's going to make me feel better in this moment, to make me calm, so that when I open this letter, I know that whatever's in it is something I can deal with. And that was an experience I just had recently, like in the last week, where I was just like, here's something that I know is a trigger for me. I see myself avoiding it. I need to deal with it. How do I hear myself enough to give myself some kind of touch that grounds me to make this okay? And then if you think on a quantum level, maybe my doing that also changed what was in the letter. Who knows? I didn't know until I opened it, but I opened it and it was like, oh, you paid this much. Oh, thanks. Let me send you another check just for fun, which is what I did too after. I was like, oh, good. Let me see you some more. There you go. Let's get this resolved even faster. So Touch IQ again is this ability for you to have a very close and clear relationship with your own body's intelligence, to get you to face the things you need to face, through the things you need to do, in the conversations you need to have, doing the actions you need to do to create the life that you want. And I think it's really the foundation of all that for me. And again, it matters. There are two key concepts in Touch IQ I'm going to touch on today that have to do with presence. So we've got three things happening over the 3 days. Today is presence and self-touch. Tomorrow is going to be embodiment and boundaries. And then when we come back over on Monday after the weekend, I'll give you a little homework over the weekend. And then we're going to talk about relational capacity and trust. But today, as a foundation for Touch IQ, we're talking about presence and self-touch. And so presence requires building two core abilities. And luckily you already have them, but we're going to hone them, and we're going to work on them to make them even stronger. Presence requires, first, something called interoception. 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 And interoception is like your internal GPS. It's the skill of knowing what you feel and where you feel it in your body. It can be simple, like knowing you need to pee and having a sense of that, to feeling, having the emotion of anxiety, but also identifying what that feels like in your body. So, like in my little IRS story, I felt that in a tightening. It wasn't really tightening of my chest, it was tightening of my skin around my chest. It was a tightening of my scalp. That was how it felt in my body when I felt that. I guess we could name it anxiety, fear, something. It was like that. But interoception has to do with knowing what you're feeling and where you're feeling it in your body. And it can be simple like body functions like I'm a little thirsty, so I'm gonna sip some water. Or it can be deeper and related more towards your emotions. So anxiety or excitement or nervousness or fear or joy or all those things all are things that you actually feel in your body. Even if in your mind you're like, oh, I feel anxious, I feel whatever, but you're actually feeling a sensation in your body generally when those things are happening. And touch IQ is learning to acknowledge those sensations and address them directly. Name the feeling and how it presents in your body. Can you think of a time or a feeling that you have or something that you're familiar with as a feeling that you have, and then how does it show up in your body? Can you think of a time when you feel happy, what's that feel like? When you feel anxious, what's that feel like? When you feel worried, what's that feel like? I need to think about that and drop it in the old chat. Be awesome. Send me a note or an email too. You can do that as well if you're watching the replay because I'm interested. I want to know. The second part, happy is good and relaxed. Smiles, you feel smile in your face. Do you feel like a warmth in your body or a relaxed thing or I don't know, whatever that is for you. All those are cool. Very good. Warmth and excitement. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Relax is the biggest. Okay, I got that. Yeah, happy and relaxed seems like a good combo. That seems like a good combination to have. The other half of Touch IQ and this framework of presence has to do with our internal dialogue. So most people, I think 10 or 20% of people don't have any like internal dialogue, which I'm like, wow, what is that like to just have a blank inside? But you tighten your body. Yeah, that's right. I understand because of your the pain issues that you face, Selena, that sometimes that's sort of a constant feeling of that, the chronic pain. I got that. So happy is like a relief. Happy must feel like a relief. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Heck yeah. Shake your shoulders, sis. The other part of this that we're talking about when we're talking about touch IQ and presence is thinking about our internal dialogue. So internal dialogue is that chatter that's in your head all the time. If you're one of 80 or more percent of people who have some running voice sort of going inside their heads. And the studies show that between 75 and 85% of our internal chatter tends to be negative. We kind of have a negativity bias in our brains that ties to that idea about safety. So back when our primordial brains were developing and we were really literally just trying to survive from day to day, we developed a vigilance that translates into a sort of that has translated and developed over centuries for human brains into sort of a bias toward negativity, which is sort of let's not take chances, let's make sure that we're being as conservative or small as we can. Some people like I think I'm not that risk averse, like I like to take chances with stuff, but I think I also can have a negative dialogue sort of running in my brain. Like sometimes I'll just wake up in the morning and like think something terrible. And it's just like, why was that the first thing you wanted to think? Something mean about yourself or something else. So a lot of that internal dialogue, yeah, it takes work, but we can't get out of it. I love that. This is why you're like perfect for this first session because you developed. You feel that more than for others than for yourself. Yeah, true. Yeah, I can see that. Um, but for the average person kind of has a running negative dialogue, just sort of running all the time. And so in terms of internal dialogue, and you're cluing in through this IQ we're developing of this body-based sensation, you have two things you need to do, which is interrupt and replace. So you want to be able to stop, recognize that it's happening first. So you need to recognize, so that comes through observations and awareness of your thoughts and awareness of your thinking. And then interrupt it. And you can interrupt it with a body-based activity, or you can interrupt it with and replace it with a positive thought. But the interruption really is necessary, and your body is an amazing tool to help you with that interrupt when you get into one of those negative trains of thought or negative lines of thought. And it can be simple. It doesn't have to be complex. And again, I'm going to tie it back to what we said about choice, about us doing what feels good as opposed to what somebody has dictated from above on high. I'm right on the same level. I'm not on high, babes. I'm right here with you. And so for me, that means empowering you to use this instrument to do what feels best to you in that moment and choose you. And so a couple of things you can do when you've got that, you say, oh, there we go. Why? What is this? Here's one of those thoughts that's not going to help me get to where I need to go. It's going to stop me. It's going to slow me down. Simple things. Take a sip of water. Simple things. Stand up if you're sitting. Sit down if you're standing. Sit up if you're lying down. Lie down if you're sitting up. Any of those things can be a quick thing to just consciously do, to say, wait a minute, I'm going to move myself. I'm going to adjust myself. I'm going to change what I'm doing to also stop, pause, or interrupt this thought that is going to take me down a road I'm very familiar with, and it's not going to be helpful to get me to where I want to go. So changing our patterns around our behaviors, either that are either these anxious feelings or other feelings that we have in our body, or these thoughts, is not complex. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy, because it takes practice and it takes shifting ourselves from ways of being that have become normal for us. So if it's normal for the average human walking around to have a negative thought, then it's going to take effort for you to change that, to change how you do that. But luckily, there are some pretty simple tools to do that. I think the last thing I'll say about thoughts is the science also shows that we also get into sort of thought loops. So we tend to have the same thoughts today that we had yesterday, that we had a week ago, that we had when we were 15. Maybe not that far back. That was a while back for me. But we get into these thought loops, and again, those require us to also take charge and insert and interrupt in those as well, and to use body-based tools to do that. So when you are having when you're noticing your internal dialogue, or when it comes to your internal dialogue, you can break that cycle using some of the techniques like I just said. And it's something that's worth doing and worth practicing, so that it becomes normal for you. And for me, when it becomes normal for you, or when we can embed those things into our normal patterns, that's when we have access to our freedom, because we're not thinking about it so much, we're not working at it so much. But it takes time to get there. It takes time to get to that place where we can do that. So if we notice an uncomfortable feeling, and Selena, you may or may not have that. Like, I was talking to you the other day, and you were having a flood in your house. And you were calmly cleaning up. stuff and staying cool. But I don't know if that's the case all the time for you. Pretty consistently. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. So Selena is a great role model for all of us to figure out how to stay calm. I'd say that for myself as well. Although I think professionally, like I come across very calm, but I used to be pretty hot-headed in my younger days. And that showed up in a lot of different ways, but just being reactive and feeling very much in my head about things. So I don't know if you ever experienced this, but having arguments with people who are not there in the room in your head, having whole conversations with folks who are not even there and like really getting yourself worked up, like all those kinds of things were things that I experienced. And I think, talking to people who I know, there you go, business and continuity. Let me look at your comments, sweet. Yeah, so you've had lots of emergencies happening all the time, and so you have to in the profession that you were in, you have to stay calm. I think that's the case. I don't know that I necessarily had those, excited emotions in a professional sphere, but at home, definitely, maybe those folks know how to push your buttons a little bit more, maybe your buttons are more exposed there, but, like, for me, I know that those were times that I was like, "Oh, this." I had to stop myself and go, "I don't like how this feels in me." It's not so much that I'm tired of yelling at this person, also that, but I'm tired of how this feels for me. So those are some of the origins of wanting to learn how to master my own, um, body-based management of myself, my emotions, my thoughts, and those kind of things. And so when I did, the people around me noticed how much less reactive I was, how much more thoughtful I was about how and when I engaged them about things that were concern or when a conflict. You're saying his energy would mimic mine. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think with our children, for me too, like it was definitely a lot of my desire to be better around these things had to do with wanting to raise my child in a way that made him feel safe and made him feel confident in himself and made him able to express how he felt without fear, like all those things, especially for us raising boys. I think for girls too. I don't have a girl, but I don't know. But I think for raising boys in particular, I think being thoughtful about making sure that there's space for them to be fully human with all the emotions and all the things is it takes extra work to do that. But it takes our self-control first to do that. So for sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. Awesome. So we have some time to practice a little bit before we sign off for today. So most for many people, their inner dialogue is negative. And it's not because you're broken, it's because your nervous system comes with a vigilance setting naturally. But again, that vigilance setting is something that keeps us separate from one another and in our desire and need really to be uh, confident and comfortable in our relatedness with others, setting ourselves up internally to calm, soothe, and direct ourselves in that way, I think is critically important to begin to master. So today we're going to experience a few moments of touch and attention that can quiet that voice and let a new one emerge. So you're going to right now take a inventory of your body, feel some part of your body, choose a part, and then choose a part of your body to observe. Sometimes when I do it, I pick a forearm or I pick something I can see easily, the top of my right thigh, that kind of thing. And you're going to choose it and you're going to observe it. You can touch it, you can squeeze it, you can look at it, you can listen for your pulse, whatever you want. So we're going to take a minute to breathe and notice some part of our physical body, and then we can reflect about what we notice about that and how what that feels like for us. So you're thinking there, or you're noticing there, this is ties to the idea of this interoception. What does this feel like? What's the sensation in this body part? Can I pinpoint it? Can I identify it? Can I describe it to myself? What that is? You can take a note and write that down for yourself. You can put in the chat, whatever feels good to you. And so for me, I was noticing my left leg, thigh, the back part sitting on this chair. So I can feel my seat, my sitting bone. It feels warm. It's a little bit warm in my house right now, so I feel warm. But I also can feel like the stretch from the top of my thigh down to the bottom. So I can feel like sort of the skin. I can feel the fabric against my skin. And I also notice that it's not so easy to isolate the feeling in one leg. Like I sort of oftentimes we sense our body sort of as a whole, or if something particularly is bothering us, we'll notice it. Or maybe if something feels really good, we'll notice it. But like it's a little bit of a, I think in general, walking around in life, it's a little bit of overload if you felt every nerve ending at every second and were consciously aware of it. So sometimes going the other way to try to be consciously aware of that can be a little bit of a challenge. But take that time to feel that part of your body and be aware of it, and note down for yourself, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What are the sensations of that? What is the temperature? What are those sensations around me as well? And you can say, if I can do that, if I can take that careful of notice of myself, then I can bring that forward into any time or any place that I need to as a signal of interrupt of something that I notice that is challenging for me, is uncomfortable for me, or is something that is a thought that I'm having that's going to get in the way of my getting to something that I want to get to, which is to be self expressed, which is to be connected, which is to feel safe going forward into this next thing, which is to try something new, which is to invest in myself. Any of those things that you're doing to create this life that you want. You can use that as an anchor and a physical reminder that you have choice and you have control in your own body to get through that thing that's hard or challenging for you, and to get to that new place of you doing, being, going after, choosing to relax, choosing to rest, choosing joy, choosing whatever you're choosing for you in that moment to get you closer to the things that you want and need. Want and need, period, or want and need to do or be. That's a reminder that you have that you can take with you everywhere. So your homework is going to be the first thing we did. How can I make myself 10% more comfortable? We're going to take time, 1, 2, 3 times between now and tomorrow when we get back together, or more if you can. The more, the better. Am I the most comfortable I can be right now? How am I feeling my body in this place that I am right now to make myself and in that noticing of how I am, how I'm feeling, how I'm sitting, how I'm standing, how I'm whatever, lying down, how can I make myself a little bit more comfortable? We're going to do that as our homework tonight. So I am super excited. Thank you for being here with me today. What a beautiful opportunity to get checked in with ourselves and to share this space and to co-create our touch IQs together. I'm super excited to do it again tomorrow and see what fun and exciting things we do as we get into a little bit more about our embodiment and our boundaries and how we can create those to help build our muscles around our body-based safety that we can carry with us everywhere. So thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. And again, if you got a word or something for the chat in the closing, I'll take it. I accept it. I wish I could hear you. I'm not sure why that didn't work. But if you have
Hello.
something in chat, and if not, and you can always send me an email or text me.
Still can't hear me.
Chat in the touch. Oh, I forgot the touch IQ tribe community on School too. You talk to me there too. All sorts of places we can get a dialogue going around this. So you had an aha moment. You gonna share it? You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. Okay. I love an aha moment. Your thighs are tight. Mm-hmm. She, and I thought I need to do this more often. Made me want to move and dance. Big heart on that one. Big heart on that one. Yes. Let's move our bodies. Let's live through them because they really are such a they're well, I was going to say such a beautiful vehicle. They're our only vehicle for experiencing life. This is all we got to understand and be in this world. So be empowered in that. Do your homework of making yourself a little more comfortable a few times this day, and I'll see you again tomorrow. All right. Bye. Oh, I can't close yet. She had another comment. And then and then as moved to your abdomen and gave you chills all over, and I felt the tension on the right side of your neck. Amen, 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 ashe. All good. So I hope if you're watching this replay that you are also cluing into what's going on in your body, and I hope you get an aha moment that breaks something open for you and brings you back tomorrow to sit with us again. All right, my loves. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.